with you today. It's a very exciting time. This week is a week where we are going to kind of be going through the nuts and bolts of the Balikatan exercises in the Philippines. I want to talk a lot about the structure of the exercises and kind of the geopolitical implications that they may have, so that you can understand that we absolutely have to work with our friends and allies. And part of that process of working with our friends and allies is doing exercises. And I think that this particular exercise in the Philippines is so critical and so important because there's so much going on in the South China Sea. Now, I want to look at the geography there a little bit. So the Philippines is like 7,000. They have 7,000 islands, and their major islands on the north is the Luzon in the north and Palawan in the south. That's a long, thin island, about 75 miles, about 45 miles wide, and about 125, 215 miles long. And the northern island of Luzon is across from the Scarborough Shoals, and that's about 125 miles, west of Manila. And then south in the Palawan Island, that their primary area that we're taking a lot of interest in is the Second Thomas Shoals. And you'll see a lot of that going on in the news about what's going on there, and everyone's jockeying for position. Why is everybody jockeying for position? Is because China has basically claimed almost all of the South China Sea, all 1.35 million square miles. China has said, "Hey, it's ours." And so because they have put Coast Guard ships there, and fishing trawlers, which are part of their tool of isolating the territory for Chinese control, what's happened is they've pushed the Philippines out of their fishing territory, their fishing areas, and consequently the Philippines have been pushed out, and the Chinese have basically taken over all of the area. In addition to that, China has built 7 islands, man-made islands. They basically have expanded islands for aircraft and for radar stations. 4 islands have runways that are 10,000 feet. Those are for airborne early warning aircraft, for fighters, for bombers, and they've added surface-to-air missiles, and lots of radars and lots of capability, so that they can keep an eye on the South China Sea, so they can control it. So the goal is for the PRC is to be able to have a region in the South China Sea that they control all of the territory with those bases, those 7 bases, and then they can inject their ships, inject aircraft carriers, and inject aircraft and refuel those aircraft and operate in that area. So what happens is, once you have radar coverage in the area, then you have transparency of what's going on in the area. Then you can come back in and you can add ISR, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance aircraft. You can add strike aircraft. You can also add aircraft that are for air dominance. And then you put those in the region, and you can control the area. No one can come in, no one can get out. Who's not armed, of course. Now, if you're armed, like the United States with our Navy, then of course you can go through there, and they're not going to bother you. So part of China saying they own and control the South China Sea is them demanding that everyone identifies with them before they are allowed to go across that territory, either via air or across the surface of the ocean. So what ends up happening is that is China's tool to control the South China Sea. And they claim that it's theirs, and they basically saying, "Hey, we run this, we own this, what are you going to do about it?" And most people say, "Well, we're not going to do anything about it because we don't have a military as big as you do, so therefore we're not going to do anything about it." And so when you have, for us, we are the United States and the Australians, Japan, and the different, even the UK, different countries have done freedom of navigation exercises through the South China Sea, right past the PRC's man-made islands and into and even through the Taiwan Strait. And so what's happened over this time is that the Chinese have said, "No, we don't accept this," but we're saying, "Hey, as long as we are abiding by international law, we're free to sail anywhere the international law says that we're free to sail and fly." So those are called FONOPs, freedom of navigation operations. Now we're in a situation where China has gone back and forth, and China has really turned the temperature up on the Philippines. So the Philippines says, hey, we traditionally fish in these areas, Scarborough Shoal, that's been blocked off, in the Second Thomas Shoals. They have a ship there that they put there to command their territory for themselves. And so basically China is saying, no, you can't get to that ship, which is their property. The PRC is claiming it as a property, but the Philippines says, no, it's ours. And so we're going to keep supplying our Marines there. So that there's a jockeying back and forth. So every time the Philippines sends a resupply ship to their ship there, then the Chinese always have water cannons and things like that they're kind of pushing back on the Philippines. And so you have that jockeying back and forth. And so all of that is because China is saying that South China Sea is theirs, and the Philippines and about 6 or 7 other countries are saying, no, it's not. It belongs to us. It's in our territory. It's on an area. So that jockeying back and forth. But the United States has a treaty with the Philippines, which means we are supposed to come to their defense if they have an issue. So part of coming to their defense if they have an issue is training with them, doing joint exercises with them, working with them to make sure they have cutting edge equipment if possible for them to be able to defend themselves and for us to work in defense with them. So that's why we're doing the Balikatan exercises. We do them every year. This particular year is a large one and has 16,000 troops. But the difference is we're now going to do something different than we've not done before. We are going to push the envelope and go out beyond the Philippines' 12-mile national border line. And we're going to go out and do exercises with them out into the South China Sea. In doing that, we are telling the Chinese, basically, that we are free to operate outside the area because it's inside of the Philippines EEZ. And the EEZ is at the Economic Enterprise Zone. And so that is up to 200 miles, 225 miles outside of each country's border. So now, what's going to happen next is we have 2 weeks of training. So let's go through some of the types of trainings that they're going to be doing. The trainings that they're going to be covering over the next week, they're going to be dealing with the maritime security, which obviously the Philippines needs lots of help with maritime security. Maritime security is where you're learning how to do boarding ships, where you are working with your Marines, working with vehicles and aircraft coming in or ships coming in, going out and that maintaining the environment. And the next area they're going to be dealing with is targeting, air and missile defense. Now, we bring that to the table. Targeting is basically where you use your ISR capabilities, where you're able to see a target and pass the information off to it's basically sensor to shooter type capabilities. You see it, you send the information to an off-board capability, and you're able to launch a missile there. That's kind of a tool that we are working from a joint perspective with the Philippine Air Force and Philippine Army missile capabilities that they have with the Philippine Army. And so what you're trying to do overall is you have your soldiers and sailors and airmen work together so that they can do the targeting that needs to be done so that you can help defend them if that time ever comes. Now, the air and missile defense, and there's two components of that. One is just being able to sense an aircraft, see an aircraft, and launch a missile to destroy an aircraft, or cruise missile, or drone, long-range drone. So that comes under the category of air and missile defense. Missile defense is shooting a missile out of the sky, whether it's a supersonic missile, soon to be hypersonic missiles, being able to detect those missiles, whether they're on a ballistic trajectory or flat trajectory, being able to see a missile and shooting and knocking it out. So that testing, you need to have joint netted capability where you're able to work together and see each other's information and be able to hand the information off from one partner to another partner for them to be able to work. And so those types of trainings are things that they're doing now. The Patriot missile system is a good example for that. Any type of missile system that you're able to work, the new Sentinel system that comes out that the Marines are using, all of those different types of systems are part of that air missile defense capability. Then another section they're going to be dealing with is called dynamic missile strikes. Dynamic missile strikes are being able to bring troops in or Marines into an area, land them somewhere, set up a surface-to-surface or anti-ship missile capability, and you're able to fire like a naval strike missile, and be able to attack an enemy platform or attack an enemy land location, maybe on an island. So being able to move, being able to get there, being able to and be able to execute a missile strike, those are all skills. We worked with those. Our friends and allies work with those capabilities, and the more you work together, the more proficient you are at that. And so another section is information operations. That is basically like cyber capabilities. We talked, I believe, last week about a combined joint all-domain command and control. Combined JADC2, CJADC2 is what it's called. That comes under the category of information operations, being able to pull all the information together and send off the sensor-to-shooter information, being able to have a secure networks, being able to have your networks proficient enough so that they're able to operate under stress, under cyber attack, and be able to deliver your good quality product and a secure product so that you can keep your mission going. So that's where there's a lot of technology going on in that space, a lot of nuances, a lot of capabilities going, a lot of money being spent in building up and rolling out systems. And I believe even as we move forward in the next decade, that's going to have more relevance, almost even, than the missiles that you send downrange, because if you can't be able to not only detect and house information and interrogate that information through artificial intelligence and produce fire solutions from an artificial intelligence perspective to the end user, then you're not going to be able to be proficient to be able to win a battle in the future. So your information systems are very, very critical to that end. They are the brains of the operation. And so you have your base information, but then you have your machine learning component, you have your AI component that goes in and gives the instructions, that passes that information off, and also tells you where the next highest probability that a missile is going to launch from a land location, where a missile is going to launch from a surface location, and then how to defeat that missile that's being launched. All that, the AI will be able to give you a solution, help your fire solution capability. So moving forward, that's all the future. All of that's going to be data and information that needs to be used to win in the battle space. I mean, and that's from the surface of the ocean or subsurface, from the surface of the on the sea bottom, all the way up to the surface of the water, to the air, to space. That whole domain, that multi-domain area, all that area is going to be something that we're going to have proficient capabilities to sense and to strike and to pass all sensor information. So all of that comes under the category of information operations, being able to do that, being able to pull in passive sonar information, being able to turn on infrared search and track capability, and being able to download that to your fire solution from an offboard sensing capability. All of these, being able to pull off a radar track off of a Patriot, or being able to pull off a radar track from an AESA radar on an F-35A or F-35B. So, being able to get sensing data and bring it in and submit it to an AI thought process for strike, that's going to be the rage in the future. Now, and then also, obviously, you're looking at being able to do that and merge it with using high energy lasers and microwaves. So all those things are things that you have to make sure that you're proficient with, and that your friends and allies understand that they need to be able to do those capabilities, and that's a learning cycle. And so all those capabilities we're developing and working with our friends and allies there in the Philippines. The French are coming in. The French have 3.5 million citizens there in the Pacific, and so New Caledonia. So it's very important to them. So we want to make sure that all of our friends and allies that are working in the Indo-Pacific, we all can work together, because if we can work together, then we can be a stronger force for deterrence against China. So I really wanted to say that's kind of what we're going to be looking at over the and just watching in the news over the next few days. We have another 7 or 8, 9 days of this operation, the Balikatan exercise, and so I'm really excited about what's going to happen with that. But it really is making the future easier for our friends and allies as we work together. Hey, so look forward to talking to you the next time. I want to encourage you to like the podcast, Common Sense Defense podcast, and we look forward to talking to you real soon. And hey, you have a great day.